True strength is quiet. It doesn't boast, it doesn't beg, and it doesn't break. Sigma males embody this kind of strength, unshakable, independent, and entirely their own. They're the ones who don't fit into neat categories, who reject the usual power plays and walk their own path no matter what anyone thinks. And it's this unique way of living that stirs two very different reactions in people: fear and admiration. The weak fear them because they can't control or understand them. Sigmas don't play by society's unwritten rules, they rewrite their own. They don't need approval or validation, which makes insecure people uncomfortable. But the strong? The strong admire them for the exact same reasons. Sigmas challenge people to think bigger, live bolder, and embrace their own authenticity. If you've ever felt like the world wanted to box you in, this video is for you. It's about understanding what makes Sigma males so powerful and why their way of life inspires respect from the strong and fear from the weak. Stick around. You just might find out why you're a Sigma male yourself. Let's get started, gents. Number 1, they refuse to be controlled, ever. Control is the weapon of the insecure. Weak individuals feel powerful when they can pull strings, push buttons, and steer others like puppets. They thrive on making people second-guess themselves, feel indebted, or bend to their will. But Sigma males, they are the immovable objects that manipulation cannot touch. A Sigma's autonomy is their armor. They don't seek approval, they don't fear rejection, and they certainly don't depend on anyone's validation to define their worth. This makes them a nightmare for manipulators. You can't guilt-trip someone who doesn't hinge their decisions on your emotions. You can't bribe someone who doesn't crave what you're offering. And you can't shame someone who is utterly at peace with walking away. Sigmas see control tactics for what they are: weak attempts to mask insecurity. They won't play along because they've already decided that their freedom is non-negotiable. And this isn't about being stubborn or rebellious. It's about having a compass that only they can read. They make decisions based on their principles, not on the demands or expectations of others. This frustrates those who depend on control to feel relevant. The weak often mistake independence for arrogance, but the truth is, Sigmas simply refuse to let anyone dictate their lives. For those who value strength, this level of self-direction is nothing short of inspiring. It's a reminder that real power isn't about dominating others, it's about mastering yourself. Being unshakably self-directed doesn't just make Sigmas stand out, it makes them untouchable. While others bend, they hold their ground. While others are pulled into games, they walk away. The world respects that kind of strength even when it doesn't understand it. Number 2, they're unapologetically honest, even when it stings. Honesty is a rare currency, and Sigma males deal in it unapologetically. They say what needs to be said, not to hurt, but because truth matters more than comfort. In a world where people tiptoe around egos and craft polite lies to avoid confrontation, Sigmas stand out as a stark contrast. They don't sugarcoat, they don't water things down, and they certainly don't play along with falsehoods just to make others feel better. Weak individuals find this kind of honesty unbearable. They're used to living in bubbles of carefully constructed illusions, surrounded by people who tell them what they want to hear. When a Sigma cuts through that with a few words of raw truth, it can feel like a gut punch. But that discomfort isn't the Sigma's problem. It's the result of years of denial catching up to someone in an instant. For the strong, though, this honesty is a breath of fresh air. They don't see it as harsh or cruel, they see it as clarity. Strong individuals know that growth only comes from confronting reality, and they value someone who isn't afraid to hold up the mirror. Sigmas earn respect not by pandering, but by being the rare people who will tell you the truth, even when it's hard to hear. This kind of brutal honesty also makes Sigmas predictable in the best way possible. You never have to wonder where you stand with them. Their words are real, their opinions unfiltered, and their intentions genuine. It's not about being rude, it's about refusing to lie for the sake of convenience. The world may not always like what a Sigma has to say, but it can't deny the power of their honesty. That's why the strong respect them and the weak fear them. At number 3, they don't fear conflict. Sigma males don't shy away from conflict. They embrace it with an unwavering calm. While most people avoid confrontation like the plague, fearing the discomfort of tough conversations or the possibility of being challenged, Sigmas see it as a necessary part of life. They don't fear uncomfortable truths or difficult exchanges because they know that conflict isn't about aggression or winning. It's about clarity, resolution, and growth. The weak, on the other hand, tremble at the mere thought of conflict. They'll go to great lengths to avoid uncomfortable situations, suppressing their true feelings or playing along to keep the peace. But in doing so, they allow resentment, confusion, or misunderstandings to fester. The thought of standing their ground, having a hard conversation, or challenging someone makes them uneasy. This fear of conflict often makes them compromise their own boundaries or settle for mediocrity. Sigmas, however, are the complete opposite. They know how to confront conflict without being dragged into emotional turbulence. They maintain their poise and focus on the bigger picture, knowing that any discomfort faced in the moment is just a stepping stone toward clarity and resolution. They don't approach conflict with aggression or hostility. They approach it with understanding, patience, and the unshakable confidence that they can navigate it without losing control. The strong admire this ability. They recognize that true strength doesn't come from avoiding confrontation, but from having the courage to face it and to do so with composure. Sigmas show them that confrontation isn't something to fear, but something to master. It's a tool, not a threat, a way to challenge the status quo, assert personal boundaries, and build stronger, more authentic connections. Number 4, they don't seek out followers. Sigma. Males have no interest in creating a following or building a fan club. They don't need people around them to validate their worth or boost their ego. Their strength lies in their ability to stand alone and still maintain a sense of purpose and self-respect. This goes against the grain of what many people believe to be the natural order. Most individuals are wired to seek approval, attention, and admiration, whether through social media, their career, or personal relationships. The idea of a leader without a crowd is foreign and unsettling to them. For the weak, this independent streak is seen as a threat. They rely on followers to give them a sense of purpose, a reason to keep pushing forward. They need people to look up to them, to mirror their ideas, or to simply be there to reaffirm their importance. So when a Sigma comes along and doesn't need anyone to follow him, it shakes their foundation. They can't comprehend someone who doesn't actively pursue the validation of others, which often leads to resentment. It challenges their worldview and exposes their own insecurity about needing others for self-worth. The strong, however, admire this autonomy. They understand that true power doesn't come from controlling or attracting followers, it comes from self-sufficiency. Sigmas command respect not because they demand it, but because they don't need anyone's approval. Their ability to walk their path without depending on others for validation is a rare and powerful trait. The strong see in the Sigma the embodiment of self-mastery. The kind of person who can be both a leader and a loner, who earns respect not through force or manipulation, but by living authentically and unapologetically. Number 5. They don't care about power, they own it. Sigma. Males don't chase power, nor do they crave titles or recognition. To them, power isn't something to be earned, fought for, or displayed. It's something they inherently possess. They don't need to dominate others or flaunt their influence to feel validated. Power is not a goal, but a state of being. The Sigma male simply is powerful, and he carries that energy with him wherever he goes without fanfare or showmanship. This quiet confidence unnerves the weak, who are obsessed with the idea of gaining control. They fight for influence, scramble for positions of power, and constantly measure themselves against others, trying to climb the social ladder or collect titles as a form of self-worth. For the weak, power is an external conquest, something that must be attained, fought for, and protected at all costs. But Sigmas don't play that game. They know that true power comes from within, not from external sources or validation. Their presence alone commands respect, without them needing to exert any effort or demand attention. It's not about control for them, it's about authenticity. They're not interested in ruling others. They're interested in ruling their own lives. The strong admire this effortless power. They recognize that it takes immense strength and inner confidence to walk into a room and immediately command the respect of others without a single word or action that screams authority. It's a quiet dominance, one that doesn't need to shout to be heard. The Sigma male doesn't need to prove anything because he already knows his worth. In a world where many are desperate to seize power, Sigmas own it with a calm, collected grace that leaves others in awe. Number 6. They inspire real change, not just change for the sake of change. Sigma males are not interested in change for the sake of change. They don't jump on bandwagons, follow trends, or settle for superficial shifts in their environment. Instead, they inspire real transformation. They aren't content with simply blending in or adapting to the status quo. They're the ones who challenge it, who push the boundaries and force the system to evolve around them. For the weak, this kind of disruption is terrifying. They prefer the comfort of routine, of following established patterns, because it feels safe and predictable. Real change is unsettling because it forces them to rethink everything, confront their limitations and step out of their comfort zones. They resist it because it threatens their stability. Sigmas, however, don't fear that kind of disruption. They understand that true growth and progress come from questioning what already exists and pushing for something more. They see the world not as it is, but as it could be. Rather than adapt to a system that's already been laid out, they rewrite the rules. They are visionaries who understand that progress isn't about incremental adjustments. It's about seismic shifts that fundamentally change the landscape. The strong admire this ability because they know it's rare and takes immense courage. Sigmas don't just ride the wave of change, they create it, they direct it, and they control it. In a world where people are often stuck in cycles of superficial change, Sigmas stand apart as the true architects of transformation. They shape their own reality and, in doing so, inspire others to break free from the confines of the existing system and dare to create something better. Number 7. Sigma males don't let fear dictate. Sigma males don't let fear dictate their actions, they use it as fuel. While the weak are often paralyzed by fear, consumed by what-ifs and worst-case scenarios, Sigmas stand firm in the face of uncertainty. Fear doesn't control them, it drives them. For the weak, fear is a barrier, a wall that prevents them from stepping out of their comfort zones. They hesitate, they second-guess, and they get stuck in a loop of indecision because fear of failure, rejection, or the unknown keeps them on the sidelines. They often miss opportunities or hold themselves back, thinking about all the ways things could go wrong, and in doing so, they become slaves to their own anxieties. Sigma males, however, don't operate like that. They acknowledge fear, but they don't let it hold them back. Instead of running from it or letting it paralyze them, they face it head-on and use it to their advantage. They understand that fear is a natural part of any challenge, and that it's a signal to push forward, not retreat. Fear becomes fuel, a motivator to take action, to learn, and to grow. This unapologetic courage is magnetic to the strong. They see it and recognize it for what it is, raw power. The Sigma male's ability to move forward with poise and confidence despite fear is a rare and respected trait. For those who admire strength, the Sigma's fearlessness isn't just impressive, it's inspiring. It shows them that true growth and success don't come from avoiding fear, but from embracing it, pushing through it, and using it to propel themselves toward greatness. The Sigma doesn't wait for the fear to dissipate. He moves forward and lets courage do the rest. Number 8. They make people question their own mediocrity. There's something unsettling about being around someone who lives fully and unapologetically in their truth. Sigma males do this effortlessly, not by making grand speeches or judging others, but by embodying what it means to reach for one's potential. Their authenticity shines a light on something most people try to ignore, their own mediocrity. For the weak, this is a deeply uncomfortable experience. Sigmas don't waste time pointing out other people's flaws or lecturing them about wasted opportunities. They don't need to. Their actions, choices, and presence alone are a stark reminder of what's possible when someone stops making excuses and takes full responsibility for their life. Weak individuals, who often cling to blame, distractions, or procrastination to justify their stagnation, find this unbearable. The Sigma isn't just a person to them. They're a walking confrontation with everything they're avoiding. What's fascinating is that Sigmas don't do this intentionally. They're not out to prove a point or make anyone feel inferior. They're simply living authentically, pursuing their goals with relentless focus, and refusing to compromise their values. But this quiet determination acts like a mirror, forcing those around them to question if they've settled for less. Have they given up too soon? Have they ignored their own potential? It's a gut-check moment many aren't ready to face. For the strong, however, this same presence is inspiring. It's a call to action, a reminder that greatness isn't reserved for the lucky few. It's accessible to anyone willing to put in the work. Sigmas don't just live authentically, they challenge others to do the same, whether intentionally or not. Their mere existence makes people ask hard questions about their own lives, and the weak either run from those questions or resent the one who made them think. Number 9. They make strength look effortless. While many people waste their energy trying to prove their worth, posturing, or competing for attention, Sigmas simply exist with an undeniable air of quiet competence. They don't need to show off, wear their success like a badge, or engage in power struggles to prove their strength. It's woven into the very fabric of who they are. Their strength isn't loud or brash, it's effortless, almost as if it's a natural extension of their being. For the weak, this can be frustrating. They're constantly scrambling to keep up, to outperform, to prove their worth through action and display. Sigmas, however, glide through life with the kind of ease that makes the weak feel like they're running in place. They don't get caught up in the race or exhaust themselves with unnecessary exertion. Instead, they trust in their abilities, which allows them to operate at a level where others might burn out. This contrast, this effortless grace in the face of chaos, is enough to leave those who rely on forced effort floundering. On the flip side, the strong admire this quality deeply. They understand that true strength isn't about constantly showcasing it or trying to outshine others, it's about internal mastery. Sigmas don't need to exert themselves to the point of exhaustion to demonstrate their power. Instead, they remain calm and composed, their actions speaking louder than any words could. This effortless strength becomes something to aspire to. For the strong, Sigmas represent the epitome of mastery, a quiet confidence that is rooted in skill, experience, and a profound understanding of self. Watching them operate without breaking a sweat inspires others to stop chasing validation and focus on cultivating their own strength. Number 10. They live by their own code, not society's. Sigmas are not rule followers, they're rule makers. While society loves to prescribe how people should think, act, and live, Sigmas reject this outright. They operate by their own code, one built on personal values, independent thinking, and self-respect. They don't conform just because it's expected or convenient, and this refusal to fit into neat little boxes unsettles those who cling to societal norms for a sense of security. For the weak, Sigmas are a walking threat to the system they rely on. These individuals depend on rules and expectations to navigate life, often using them as a shield to avoid the discomfort of thinking for themselves. When a Sigma steps outside those lines, it's like they're breaking the unspoken agreement that everyone is supposed to follow the same script. The weak see this as dangerous, even rebellious, because it challenges the very framework they use to measure their own worth. The strong, however, see this independence as inspiring. They understand that it takes courage and conviction to ignore the noise of societal pressure and carve your own path. To them, Sigmas are a reminder that true success doesn't come from following the crowd. It comes from defining your own terms and sticking to them, no matter how much resistance you face. Sigmas don't defy societal norms to be edgy or provocative. They simply don't see the point of living by rules that don't align with who they are. This makes them unpredictable, yes, but also deeply authentic. In a world obsessed with fitting in, they stand out by refusing to compromise their identity. Whether this terrifies or inspires depends entirely on the lens through which you view them, but either way, it's impossible to ignore. As I conclude, In a world that often demands conformity, Sigma males stand as outliers, not because they choose to be, but because their neurodivergent minds simply can't accept the limits of societal norms. They don't just navigate life, they dissect, question, and rebuild it. Their curiosity drives them, their deep sense of justice fuels them, and their ability to see what others miss keeps them on a path that's uniquely their own. If you recognize yourself in any of these traits, if you've always felt like you didn't quite fit the mold, but thrived because of it, know this: you're not alone. There's strength in your individuality, power in your perspective, and a resilience that makes you capable of carving out a path others can only dream of walking. Your neurodivergence isn't a flaw, it's your superpower, a force that gives you the ability to question, innovate, and grow in ways few others can. If you've ever felt isolated by the complexity of your thoughts or misunderstood by those around you, know that there's a community where your mind, your challenges, and your unique outlook on the world are celebrated. Join us and let's continue to grow, challenge, and redefine what it means to live authentically.